what's up? In this video, I will show you how I created this character from one reference image. All right, let's get started. So let's first have a look at the character right here. There's a lot going on. And yes, I did use hair cards, and I will show you a little later on how I set that up. And yeah, you know, I got the custom Louis Vuitton from wish.com. No, it's the, it actually says Ozo. So I replaced the LV with the, anyway, there's some like very detailed skin textures going on. But yeah, let's dive into it. Unfortunately, I did not record the sculpting session of this character because, well, I was already neck deep into it. Literally, I was sculpting her neck when I realized, shit, I should have recorded it. But I can still show you the whole setup and hopefully help you with it. And by the way, thank you guys for the freaking 356 subscribers as of now. I didn't know people were interested that much in 3D, at least the stuff that I'm making. That's pretty incredible. So thank you guys. I appreciate every single subscriber, and I will continue to give you consistent weekly videos. Now let's get on to the video. The original character was actually inspired from this AI image that I found online. From the get-go, I already knew that I wasn't going to go for a one-to-one. It was basically my interpretation of this image. But then later on, I realized that the colors in the reference image work well with the 2D style, you know, the cel-shaded style, but in 3D it looked pretty bad. So eventually I went with pastel-looking colors, like warmer colors, pink and whatnot. So yeah, but I wasn't gonna go with the, you know, one-to-one either way, so it didn't really matter. So yeah, let me show you this model. So as you can see, I didn't model everything. She doesn't have arms, because I mean, you could barely see it anyway. The focus was the face, so that's where I spent most of my time on. I did not go the manual retopology route. I used ZRemesher from ZBrush. What I did was I set a bunch of guidelines, and in ZBrush there's a brush for that. You basically draw it out like this, and I would draw like lines like this and whatnot on where the topology flow should be, which, by the way, you should probably know a thing or two about topology flow. And then I hit ZRemesh a couple of times, and I would say most of it did a pretty good job. Then I basically grabbed this model, imported it back into Blender, and laid out my seams for UV unwrapping. Anyway, I laid down my seams here and there. These are the UVs for the model. For the record, they're not proportional. If I grab the UV grid here, you can see that the face is far more detailed than the body. I did this on purpose because the body is actually completely covered. So it wasn't important to begin with. I also didn't even pay attention on texturing the body, so the face, that was the main focus. But usually you don't want to do this if you're doing like a full body character and the body has tattoos and all that kind of stuff. You want to make sure these styles are also detailed on the body as well. So I imported this character into Substance. That's my painter tool of choice. For the next video, by the way, I will make a tutorial on how to texture something in Substance, an object like a grenade or something. Now here's the thing, I know I usually make Blender tutorials, but I feel like if you want to, you know, really get the most out of your models and portfolio, you have to use several software. You know, you can't just stick to one. But if you can't afford it, I completely get it. You know, I didn't have a job for years basically, and I couldn't afford shit. So that's actually why I started out using Blender, because it's free. And at this point, I could switch over to different software, but I love Blender, so we're sticking to Blender. So I brought this model into a Substance, and I gave the character a yellowish skin tone, then painted like splotches of red, more on the nose, and also painted on these freckles, and then this, you know, this mole, this disgusting ass mole. And that's it. That's really it. I did a little bit more on the the roughness channel. I used this pore map from J Hill, by the way. Tiled it like 65 times and plugged it in, and you get to have this very fine skin detail, which looks really fancy. You see, the camera doesn't even go that close, but I wanted it in there anyway. Now, something interesting is the hairline, or like the hair underneath the hair cards, right? So let me show you how I did it. So I just created a texture map in Blender and painted it on. You know, this could have been actually a white color. I should have done a white color, but doesn't matter. I plugged it through a color ramp, made it white, because then you can basically remove the white bits using a mix node, or use it as a mask map in the mix node, so black and white. Plug it in there, and then I had a noise texture, and it's very faint, but I plugged that through a color ramp and gave it a lot more color. Right now, this kind of emulates hair. This is my node setup. Set the detail very high. Turn this value up to 6. So yeah, plug that in a color ramp, in a mix ramp, and plug that into a mix RGB. And like I said, the factor will be this mask that we painted. So basically it will mask out the black part, and everything else should be white in this case. And then plug that into another mix RGB and put it in the second slot and set it to multiply. This will basically remove everything that's white in the image. That's why we want to make sure this is set to white. And in the first image, we have our skin texture that I previously showed you. And then it will mix the two of them together. And there you go, you got your hairline. Plug that in the base color and ta-da, you got hair on your character. Now, if you want to go for a buzz cut or something, for a fade, you're done. Just paint it on. All you have to do is just, I'll show you right here, like go to the texture, paint, and just gonna grab the white color, remove mirror modifier, do the thing that Drake has, and we'll update it. Kind of looks wrong, doesn't it? Doesn't matter. So for the hair, what I did was I used hair cards, as you might have guessed. Basically, you can buy these packs of hair, or you can make them yourself. Basically, you have a bunch of hair particles, hanging down in clumps or like in separate strings. You render that out as an image, generate a bunch of channels from that image. You could have like an occlusion, normal map, roughness, all that stuff that you know. Then you have that plane with all your hair clumps, and you bring that into Blender as an image and just add a bunch of edge loops and cut them out. So I added all these edge loops here, cut them out, and then put them over here. And I would duplicate, like let's grab this one. And then I can duplicate it a couple more times to give it that 3D depth, because this is flat right now, right? So I make like a triangle, something like that. And then what you can do is add a path curve and scale this down. Apply all transforms, set origin to 3D cursor. And then this might get a bit tricky, but let's see. We have the curve. Select the hair cards, go into modifier and add a curve modifier. And then we're gonna pick our curve that we made. So in this case, I had to rotate my hair cards, which it really it's basically a transformation issue. Maybe I shouldn't have applied it. It doesn't matter, now it works. So just make sure this matches the spline that you made, and find the bottom and the top. It looks all good, and I could still scale this up like that. And then you might want to parent them to each other, so I'm just gonna pick the spline because it's trickier to get to it, and shift click the hair, and then control P and parent as a object keep transform, and then I can move this and it will all move along. So I would position this on the scalp, and it's a bit offset. And now I can grab my curve, go in edit mode, position this right over here, maybe make some more, and then move it like that. You can rotate it with control T. What I like about using the path curve. It's very easy and simple to work with. There we go. We position this, and I know it looks very crooked right now, like there's a corner right here, but you can apply the curve modifier and subdivide it so it's nice and smooth. Then you can basically grab this, shift D to duplicate it. And by the way, I use my 3D cursor a lot because it's just nice, because if I want to like rotate this around this corner, I don't have to constantly change the origin point, so that's why. Go to sculpt mode, select the snake hook, make it big, and just, reposition the hair. So you got a nice clump, and just do that over and over and over again. Maybe put on like a podcast or some music or something. Whatever you do, it doesn't matter. And if we go into render view or render preview, it looks like this. You don't see the actual card, you see because it has alpha and everything. That's basically how I did it. Okay, so let me show you the first iterations of the hair. So this was the first one, as the character was bald at the top at this point. So basically at this point, I just duplicated the hair all around, moved some of the shape around, primarily worked with the path curve like I showed you. The second iteration was taking this, adding more hair over here, and then really sculpting the hair cards, which it wasn't the cleanest way to do it because I had to correct a lot of the vertices by hand. So maybe I don't recommend doing it that way. But this is basically the one that I believe I showed you in the last video. If I go in render preview, it looks pretty nice, honestly. But she's quite bald underneath, right? Again, feedback from my girlfriend. She would need far more layers of hair. And by the way, the motion of this hair right now, I don't know if it's obvious, but the motion is, you know, there's like a gust of wind, or she's like flicking her head to the left and her hair is flying in the air. Actually don't know if that was obvious, but either way. So the third and final iteration was to make this shorter and give her like a bob with a buzz underneath, right? So let me hide that. There's the final one. And then on top of that, I added some stragglers and a second pass. And that's right there. It's very subtle, but it does make a difference, especially on this area. But yeah, and then it was time to model some clothes quickly. My own brand of Louis, well, I don't know if I could ever distribute this. I'd probably get sued by Louis Vuitton. So let's not do that. So there you go, guys. That's the overview video on this character. Next week, I will make a video on how to model a M67 grenade, which I know is quite the opposite of cute anime girls. We're going into war territory, but I think it will be a really cool tutorial on a sub-D modeling workflow, as well as how to texture using a little bit of storytelling in your texturing as well. I think that would be some really cool knowledge to share. So leave a comment down below on what you liked, what you would like to see. If you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button with the bell notification icon and all that good stuff. Like the video if you liked it, I guess. I upload every week on a weekend, so you can expect another video next Saturday or Sunday. So I'll see you guys in the next video.